The Nigerian Institute of Building has condemned the exploitative practices of landlords and caretakers in Ogun State, accusing them of making life increasingly difficult for residents, especially the poor, through arbitrary rent hikes. Speaking after delivering his keynote lecture at the Gateway Builders Conference of the Ogun State chapter of the NIOB held at Federal Polytechnic Ilavo, Professor Olabosipo Ishola Fagbinle of the Department of Building, Covenant University, described the continuous increase in rent as unfair and detrimental to the welfare of the people. The theme of the conference was Traversing the Landscape of 21st Century Construction, the Builder's Input. Professor Fagbinle lamented that the persistent annual increase in rent has rendered many poor people homeless, forcing some into criminal activities as a means of survival.
In Ogun State now, they have been copying Lagos State for two-bedroom flat, going for as high as 4 million naira, 5 million naira, per annum. The question is, the people you are calling to take this, how much is their salary per annum? So it makes things difficult for people. So, and the only way we can do it is to make supply more. So if supply surpasses demand, we have less pressure on people in this area. So that's why we are calling on Ogun State government. We need them to build houses. When you have more houses, the dominance and exploitation tendencies of Shylock landlords will be greatly reduced.
While commending the state government for its efforts in housing development, he urged it to do more to ensure that the poor and middle-class citizens can benefit from existing housing schemes. He warned that the limited accessibility of government housing projects has further strengthened the exploitative powers of landlords and caretakers in the state. He therefore appealed to the state government to enact a law regulating house rent with a standard price framework that would curb exploitation. In his remarks, the chairman of the occasion, Engineer Ayobami Oluburi, a former Ogun State Commissioner for Environment and former APC Secretary, encouraged youths to explore careers in building and construction as a legitimate and rewarding path to success. He advised them to leverage advancements in artificial intelligence, AI, and robotics for innovation rather than using technology to promote crime and immorality.
Because these days you realize that everything is changing, everything is dynamic, and the building sector is not left out of that. It's a wonderful opportunity for the youth to develop their career in robotics and in artificial intelligence. That is why the whole world is going now, and the building sector is not left behind.
Oluburi also urged the government to foster effective collaboration between professional builders and government agencies to address the state's housing and structural challenges. The national president of the Nigerian Institute of Builders, Builder Honorable Daniel Abimbola Kolade, represented by the newly appointed Lagos State Chairman, Builder Owolabi, commended the Ogun State government for its rapid infrastructural and industrial development. However, he urged the state to ensure that only competent and certified builders are engaged in construction projects to prevent building collapses and ensure quality delivery.
However, as the demand for housing and infrastructure continues to grow, the need, competence, ethical, and well-trained builders become even more critical. We must ensure that every structure in Ogun State, from industrial park to residential estates, bear the marks of professional oversight and builders' integrity.
The Ogun State Chairman of NIOB, Builder Adebayo Dauda Adeshina, affirmed that builders in the state, both in academia and on the field, are already embracing technological innovations to tackle housing deficits. While commending the government for its accelerated housing projects, he noted that the majority of the units are still beyond the reach of the poor due to high cost caused by rising prices of building materials.
But one of the reasons why people evade normal setup is that when you look at land acquisition, for example, there are some regulations that make it very, very difficult. the cost of approval, the cost of acquiring land, and the rest of things like that always scare people. So it would be better if we are encouraging people to adopt the normal method. We should also be able to look at this thing. Why is it not affordable with people? So many people are running away from it because they couldn't afford it. But if the government can strategize, we are not saying we should compromise standard, but if we can strategize on probably maybe part payment, maybe like something like that, I think it will be easier for people to patronize the method that the government has strategized. But as we speak, so many people complain that it's not affordable, and that is why they are doing what they like. And we don't have any option. When they do what they like, the building can collapse, anything can happen. They can construct buildings on areas that have been earmarked for public buildings. At the end of the day, the government might decide to neglect development. If they want to develop that area, they will need to demolish those houses.
Adesina called on wealthy Nigerians to use their resources to support efforts aimed at solving the nation's housing crisis. He also advised private property developers and individuals to always engage qualified professionals in their building projects to avoid the long-term costs and dangers associated with using quacks. The conference was hired by important personnel. Amongst them is Oba Dr. Kehinde Olugbinle, represented by the Oloja of Ojodun, and Oba Buhari Makinde, the Oniwoye of Iwoye Yiwa, state chairmen, members, amongst others.